My name is Allysha Hubbard, and this is my presentation for my basketball handbook. Um, my coaching philosophy is a combination of a fundamental philosophy and an autocratic philosophy. Um, the reason I chose this is because fundamentals are key to any basketball team. If a team doesn't really have their fundamentals down, then they're not going to succeed no matter what. And the autocratic part of my philosophy is that it works best with like older students and players, and it allows me to like crack down on my players and help them make decisions and uh, make the decisions that the team needs to reach their goals. My team's identity is really going to be working on focusing on their defense, rebounding, and teamwork. I think that this is the best team identity for a team that is starting out for the first time, because those are really the key tenets of basketball that you need to work on to begin with. The coaching roles, as the head coach, I'm going to try to deliberate as many coaching roles as I can to everybody so that I have the help that I need to really make the program thrive. To my assistant coach, during practice, I'm going to have them running practices, really working on the offensive side so I can help with the defense. They'll also be in charge of running the JV teams when we split up practices. During time outside of practice, they're going to help me find plays and review game footage. During the games, they're going to help by coaching the JV games and assist me during the varsity game by maybe watching something that I don't see and helping me kind of notice what's going on the court. If I'm focused on something else, they can notice something and they can help keep the players on the bench focused on the game. For our volunteer coaches, during practice, they're going to help run drills and help the assistant coach with the JV team, or if I need extra people to help with the varsity, then they will take over for the JV and the assistant coach will come help me. The assistant coach will help, sorry, they'll help as like extra people on the court or during defense during situations that'll call for it. Or if we're doing like breakout sessions and we're focusing on like the post players and we need somebody to be a body there on the court, that'll be a real help. Outside of practice or a game session, they're going to help with reviewing footage. During the games, they're going to be helping coach the JV game, and during the varsity games, they'll be filling out stat sheets and helping keep an eye on everything like the assistant coach does. Just because the more eyes we have on the court, the better it'll be for helping our players. And the managers' roles are going to be, usually the managers of the team are going to be high school students themselves, so they're going to be running stop clock and keeping score during practices, making sure water bottles are filled. During games, they're going to be helping keep track of the game equipment and the team gear when we load onto the bus and when we load off, and when we leave schools, they're going to make sure we have all the gear with us. They're also going to be keeping stats or filming the game, depending on how many managers we have. And they might also help with filling water bottles, especially during breaks. So our meetings that we're going to have with the preseason meeting is the really important one. And I have a setup here of kind of what the room will look like. We have all of the students sitting down and their parents watching, while me and the assistant coach are up front presenting the meeting and like what's going down and our expectations for the players, and we're going to break down everything that we expect from the season and what we need the players to do, what the parents need to do, and what they need to keep in mind. And then the handouts will be here on a table off to the side, so then they can grab them when they come in the door. And in the handouts, it's going to have packets with each student's like goals and the contract they have to sign for being on the team. There's going to be a parent waiver, which will be about the parents' expectations and what they expect from us as coaches. There's going to be a tentative game schedule. Games are always changing before the season actually starts, so there'll be a tentative one, and then once we get the full game schedule, we'll send out another one. There's going to be a spirit pack, which you'll have mandatory or voluntary items that the players can get to kind of make them a more cohesive unit. I know a lot of teams have you have to get the certain warm-ups, or you have to everyone has to get a team shirt or whatever. And so I think it'll just depend on what we're doing that season. If we have a lot of players that really want to have all the same things, then we might say that getting the warm-ups will be a good thing, or we might have a season where nobody really wants to buy anything, and that's fine. And then there'll also be the physical forms that the parents will have to have filled out by a doctor, so then the players are considered ready to go. Attendance, so it's not necessarily a mandatory thing, because there are situations that happen because athletes are going to be students first. If they have something going on with their grades or an assignment that they need to catch up on in class, or they missed a day of school so they need to talk to their teachers after school, then that's going to happen. Or if they have an emergency with their family. So people are going to miss practice, but if it's a reoccurring thing, that is where it's going to become a problem. And this is because practice is an integral part to our playing time. If you're missing practice, you're not going to receive the same information that all the other players do. We might have changed up a play, and the player that didn't come to practice isn't going to know that. So being at practice as often as you can is really going to affect your playing time. And all of the players that are there constantly and they don't miss practice are going to be rewarded a little bit more than the players that are constantly skipping for one reason or another. So the skill sets that we're going to really need from our players are going to be a little bit different for each group. Point guards are really going to have to know dribbling the ball, passing, reading the court is going to be a big one, because we're going to rely on them to call plays to kind of help out me and the rest of the coaching staff, to not have to constantly be deciding what's going on. Having the point guards be able to do that is going to really help, and it'll help evolve them as a leader on the team. They're also going to be needing to set up plays. This kind of ties into reading the court, and they'll also need to be good rebounders. The skills that the wings will need, again, they'll need ball handling skills. They'll need to be able to get open for plays. Shooting from the outside, pivoting and passing are going to be really important for the wing players. And then the post players are going to need to post up, pivot. They'll need to be blocking out, working on passing and rebounding, especially under the basket there. They're going to be big rebounders for the team. So practice plans, they're going to be a little bit different as the season goes, but every practice I want to focus on building teamwork and understanding plays and positions and working on conditioning. This is because having kind of a set basis is going to really help the players with a routine. And every practice I'm going to have a meeting with my coaching staff, and we're going to talk about what we'll do for the practice or for the week, depending on how efficient we are at these meetings. And we're going to talk about any suggestions they have for the practice, or things they might want to tweak or think that we should add to the roster for practice. And then, so the first half of every practice, for the most part, is going to be focused on offensive drills and learning plays or working on plays. And there's going to be conditioning and shooting drills kind of interspersed in there. And then the second half of practice will be focused on all of the defensive drills and plays. And that'll be also interspersed with other conditioning and shooting drills. And so this is an example of one of the offensive plays that we'll be doing, and it's called Warrior, and this is the flex version of it. So as you can see, I have some diagrams here of how everybody's going to move around. And so the point guard comes in, and they pass to the 4-player at the elbow. Then they cut down to the center of the lane and set a flex screen for the 2 who's coming around into the basket lane, and so they're going to be open for a pass here. If that doesn't happen, the 4 is going to become the ball handler, and the 2 is going to receive a screen from the 5 who's dropping down to get out to the corner, where they will also have a chance to be open. If that opening doesn't work, then everyone will be set up in a rebounding around the arc, where the 5 will be posting up down at the basket. And then an example of a defense that I want to run is going to be a full court press defense, and this is going to be called 41 deny. And so it is a denial defense, so you're going to be blocking as many options to pass in as you can. You're really focusing on trying to get that 5-second count at the baseline, or if they do pass it in, get a quick steal to get the points back for us. As you can see, we have everybody set up very close to their man blocking passing lanes, except for the 5, who is going to be watching for a long pass in case somebody breaks away, and they'll also be waiting to pick up their player in case they're trying for a quick lob and then have them run down to the basket. So an example of some of the coaching situations I'll be dealing with are my bench expectations. And I always expect the bench to be paying attention during the game and ready to be put in at any moment. This is because if they're not paying attention, it will hamper us trying to get them into the game if we need them, because they might not know what plays are going on or what defense we're in or who they're supposed to be switching for because they're not watching. They also need to be paying attention to what's going on, because you don't know always who they're going to go in for, especially if they're utility players. If somebody is used to being able to play as a post or a wing, they'll need to watch the people that they normally go in for to find out who they're defending or who's defending them, so they know if they need to switch with somebody else. They also have to pay attention to the coaches, because if we call for them to go over a play that we're going to have them tell the point guard to run when they go in, we'll need to have them know what's happening. And so it's very important that the bench is paying attention. And if they're not really paying attention during the game, it's going to be less likely that those players will actually end up getting into the game, unfortunately. A breakdown of kind of the budget and the inventory that I had. At a school, you're going to already have a lot of inventory coming in. You have your basketballs and all of that. But with the other expenses of buying some gear that we might not have or replacing something, and then our summer program, we're going to end up coming to a total expenses of around $1,393, and this is with two different local summer camps and a couple new gear that we'll need for summer. And then with our fundraisers and the money that the school gives us to start with, we'll come in around $1,400 or $1,500, depending on how much we earn from our fundraisers. One of the case study questions that I really thought I did a good job of answering was dealing with parents coming up to you post-game to complain about either their child's lack of playing time or some other problem they had. And this is a big problem with parents, because you are teaching their kid, and they feel entitled to having their child play and do things where that might not have been the best thing for the entire team. But having them come up to me when I haven't even gotten through the line to shake hands or anything, that's going to be a really big problem. So I would politely but sternly excuse myself from the parents and let them know that we can have this conversation after I like go through the line and shake hands with the other coach, and then I go in and have my meeting with the players to let them know how they did during the game or what they might work on, or just have my like breakdown with the players, and let both me and the parents kind of calm down a little bit, because this isn't really a conversation you should have when there's other things that need to be going on, or when the parents are being hostile towards me and my staff. And so after everybody's kind of calmed down, we've had the meeting with the players in the locker room, then I will come and have the conversation with them off to the side where we can speak face to face and kind of have like a rational discussion where they can vent their frustrations to me and I can explain my reasonings. And then so this is an example of the statistics that we'll be looking for during our games. I want to look at our field goals, both attempted and the percentage that they make. I want to look at the free throws that our players are taking, the fouls that they're getting, the rebounds they're making, assists, their blocked shots, the steals and turnovers. And I also want to focus on their attempts in the paint, because that specifically is something that's very important. The more attempts that you take in the paint, because it's closer and it's not a higher scoring shot, but you're more likely to make points from in the paint. Then I want to focus on that and find out how many shots they're taking there. And this is an example of the stat sheet that we'll be using. It'll be a little bit different for each team. We might focus on something different each season, but this is just kind of a base stat sheet we might use. And now we get to my explanation about this quarter. I think that my greatest takeaways this quarter was learning just how much work actually goes into coaching basketball, and I really liked how much knowledge that I got to actually become a good coach from this class. I learned so much that there were so many things that I didn't know about coaching, that after taking this class really kind of hammered that in, that this isn't just going to be a walk in the park all the time. You have to focus on things that most other people don't. Like, even as a player, you don't focus on all of these things. So it's really important that I learned all of this in this class. And utilizing this in the future is going to be really helpful, because I can use this handbook as a basis for how to be a good coach and how to structure a good program, whether it's from the ground up or if I'm coming into a program that's already established. I can kind of use all this knowledge and this handbook to kind of base everything on, and I can rework the things that are in the handbook to better fit the team that I have or the certain situation that we're in. But it's going to be a good basis for how I go into my future as being a coach. And that was everything. I hope my presentation was decent, and thank you for listening.